Like and subscribe right now for more incredible stories about justice, shocking courtroom moments, and unexpected twists that will blow your mind. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our videos. A woman screamed at a delivery driver, threatening to call the police because she claimed he'd damaged her property and spoken rudely to her. The driver, terrified, didn't argue. He just left. She made the call to police, filed an official report, and felt satisfied that justice was being served. But when she walked into the courthouse 3 months later for the hearing, she froze. Standing at the front of the room was not just the delivery driver. It was someone who knew the complete truth about who she really was. And that person was about to expose her lies in front of everyone. Catherine Morrison was 53 years old and had lived her entire adult life as someone people feared and avoided. She was a professional complaint maker, someone who weaponized the legal system to bully people, get free stuff, and destroy reputations. Catherine had never had a real job. Instead, she'd made a career out of false claims, fake injuries, and fraudulent lawsuits. She'd gotten thousands of dollars from restaurants claiming she found hair in her food. She'd received settlement money from stores claiming she'd slipped and fallen. She had actually fallen on purpose. She'd gotten free items, refunds, and compensation through constant lies. Everyone in her apartment complex knew about Catherine. Delivery drivers warned each other. Watch out for the lady in 4C. She'll claim anything just to get free stuff. Store managers had her photo posted with warnings. But Catherine didn't care about her reputation. She was too busy making money off of false claims. Catherine had no friends. She had no family who spoke to her. She lived alone in a small apartment, spending her days thinking of new ways to scam people or file fake complaints. Her latest target was a delivery driver named Thomas Chen. Thomas worked for a popular delivery service and was known in his community for being kind, professional, and helpful. He had 5-star reviews from hundreds of satisfied customers. He was the kind of person who helped elderly neighbors carry groceries and who always delivered packages with a smile. One day, Thomas delivered a package to Catherine's apartment. The package contained a decorative vase that Catherine had ordered. When she opened it, the vase was fine. Not broken, not damaged, in perfect condition. But Catherine had a plan. She opened her apartment door and screamed at Thomas. "You damaged this." "I can see the crack." There was no crack, but Catherine pointed at a tiny imperfection that had probably existed since the item was made. "Ma'am, I didn't damage anything," Thomas said politely. "I was very careful with your package. It looks perfect to me. Don't you dare tell me what I see." Catherine screamed. "You're being disrespectful. I'm calling the police and filing a complaint with your company." Thomas tried to reason with her, but Catherine just kept screaming. She demanded compensation, a refund, and his termination from his job. She recorded part of the conversation, editing it to make Thomas seem rude and unprofessional. Then she called the police. The police arrived at Catherine's apartment. She showed them the damaged vase and played her edited recording for them. She claimed Thomas had been aggressive and disrespectful. She said she felt unsafe. Thomas tried to explain, but Catherine had already established herself as the victim in the officers' minds. They believed her story and filed an official report. Thomas's company was immediately notified of a customer complaint. The delivery service investigated. Catherine had filed 3 similar complaints against other drivers over the past year. They all had the same pattern. The driver delivered something, Catherine claimed damage or disrespect, and she demanded compensation. The company knew what was happening. But Catherine had been clever enough to gather other people's complaints too. She found online reviews from customers who'd claimed similar issues with the same drivers. She'd built a convincing case that looked like a pattern of negligence. Thomas's employer fired him. Thomas was devastated. He'd worked at the delivery company for 8 years with a perfect record. He'd never had a single complaint. Now suddenly he was terminated based on one false claim. He lost his job, his income, his peace of mind. He couldn't sleep at night. He became depressed. He applied to dozens of other jobs but couldn't find anything that paid well. He had to move to a smaller apartment. His quality of life decreased dramatically. Meanwhile, Catherine received a $500 refund from the delivery company. and felt satisfied that her scam had worked perfectly. But Thomas did something Catherine didn't expect. He hired a lawyer and decided to fight back. His lawyer, a woman named Patricia Washington, was experienced in false complaint cases. She investigated Catherine thoroughly. She discovered a pattern of false complaints going back 15 years. She found documentation of at least 40 fraudulent claims. She discovered receipts showing Catherine had received over $200,000 in fraudulent compensation. Patricia also interviewed people in Catherine's apartment complex. Everyone had stories. The maintenance man described Catherine filing false complaints about his work. The property manager explained Catherine's long history of fake complaints. Store managers provided documentation of her fraudulent claims. Patricia filed a countersuit against Catherine, claiming malicious prosecution, fraud, and defamation. Catherine received a court summons. She'd never expected to actually face legal consequences. She'd always gotten away with her scams. Now she was being sued in civil court. On the day of the hearing, Catherine walked into the courtroom feeling confident. She thought she could charm the judge like she'd charmed so many others. She wore her victim outfit, a modest dress, minimal makeup, looking as sympathetic as possible. Then the courtroom door opened and the shock hit her like a physical blow. Walking into the courtroom was not just Thomas, it was Thomas's entire family, and they were all there to testify. Thomas's mother, a retired schoolteacher, explained how Catherine's false complaint had devastated her son. Thomas's sister, a successful businesswoman, described how her brother had lost his confidence and his will. Thomas's young nephew talked about his uncle Thomas, who used to be so happy but had become sad and withdrawn. But there was one more surprise Catherine never saw coming. The judge called the first witness to the stand. It was Marcus Williams, the police officer who'd first responded to Catherine's complaint. Officer Williams had been investigating Catherine independently after noticing a pattern in complaints at her apartment complex. "Your Honor," Officer Williams said, "I've been tracking Ms. Catherine Morrison for the past 2 years. Her name has appeared in 47 different complaints filed against various service workers and businesses. I've interviewed 15 of the people she's filed complaints against. Every single one of them had the exact same experience. Ms. Morrison claimed damage or disrespect, demanded compensation, and provided edited or false evidence. He presented documentation, photographs of emails Catherine had sent threatening to file complaints, and recordings she'd made and edited deceptively. I'm filing additional charges against Ms. Morrison for filing false police reports and making false statements to law enforcement," Officer Williams announced. Catherine's face went pale. This was no longer a simple civil dispute. This was becoming a criminal matter. The lawyer Catherine had hired, a young, inexperienced attorney who didn't realize the depth of her deception, looked shocked. She turned to Catherine and whispered, "Did you tell me the truth about this situation?" Catherine couldn't answer. She just stared straight ahead, her entire world collapsing. The judge listened to hours of testimony. He heard from Thomas about losing his job and his reputation. He heard from other victims Catherine had scammed. He heard from police officers and business owners about her pattern of fraud. The judge was furious. He'd been a judge for 23 years, and he'd rarely seen such blatant and systematic fraud. "Ms. Morrison," the judge said, his voice cold and stern, "you have weaponized the legal system against innocent people. You have filed false police reports. You have committed fraud. You have damaged people's reputations, their livelihoods, and their mental health. This courtroom is supposed to protect truth and justice, not be used as a tool for scammers." He ruled entirely in Thomas's favor. Catherine was ordered to pay Thomas $150,000 in damages for lost wages and emotional distress, pay $50,000 in restitution to other victims she'd scammed, pay the court's costs and legal fees, perform 500 hours of community service, undergo psychological evaluation and treatment. More importantly, criminal charges were filed. Catherine was arrested and charged with fraud, filing false police reports, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Catherine pleaded guilty to all charges and received a sentence of 2 years in prison, with 3 years of probation afterward. While in prison, Catherine was required to attend therapy and treatment programs. For the first time in her life, she had to confront her behavior and the damage she'd caused. Thomas, meanwhile, was vindicated completely. His reputation was restored. The delivery company rehired him with an apology and a promotion to supervisor. He became an advocate for protecting workers against false complaints. He spoke at community events about his experience and how important it is to verify claims before acting on them. Patricia Washington, Thomas's lawyer, used the case to establish a legal fund helping victims of false complaints. She wrote articles about the rising problem of fraudulent claims weaponizing the legal system. Her work led to new policies requiring more thorough investigations before acting on complaints. Officer Williams was recognized for his diligent investigation. His work uncovered a significant fraud ring and protected the community. The apartment complex where Catherine had lived held a community meeting. They discussed Catherine's years of false complaints and thanked the maintenance man, property manager, and others for their patience despite being falsely accused. The community became stronger through acknowledging the truth. After her release from prison, Catherine was required to attempt making restitution to her victims. She worked a low-wage job and paid money back slowly. She attended therapy sessions. She had to check in regularly with her probation officer. Catherine never regained the life she'd had before. She couldn't find good employment because her criminal record followed her. She couldn't maintain relationships because everyone knew the truth about her. She lived quietly and alone, finally facing the consequences of her actions. The powerful lesson is profound. Justice systems depend on truth and honest reporting. When people weaponize legal systems through false complaints, they don't just hurt individual victims, they damage the entire system. Catherine thought she could lie forever. She thought victims like Thomas had no recourse. She was wrong. Truth, evidence, and honest investigation will always expose lies. Thomas's integrity and willingness to fight back didn't just save his own life. It protected many others from Catherine's future scams. The legal system, despite its flaws, has mechanisms to expose fraud when people are brave enough to challenge false accusations. Respect the system by using it honestly. What happens next? This story reveals an important truth. False accusations don't just hurt individuals, they damage trust in entire systems. But when the truth comes out and people are held accountable, justice can be served and victims can be vindicated. Have you ever been falsely accused of something? Have you ever seen someone finally face consequences for their lies? Have you witnessed justice triumph over deception? Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories about courtroom justice, truth prevailing over lies, and people facing the consequences of their actions. Hit that notification bell right now so you never miss our latest uploads. Comment below. Tell us about a time when you stood up against false accusations, or when you saw truth finally win out over deception. Share your story in the comments. Your experience could inspire thousands of people to fight for justice and never give up on the truth. Thanks for watching. This story reminds us that truth, evidence, and persistence will always triumph over lies and deception. People like Catherine think they can game the system forever, but justice eventually catches up with everyone. See you in the next video where we'll share another shocking story about false accusations exposed and truth finally revealed.